Give us a sense of whoever the nominee is, what the president has in store to get it through.
David, it's going to be a whale of a fight regardless of who the nominee is. The four finalists that we've seen on President Trump's shortlist are Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, Raymond Kethledge, and Thomas Hardiman, and all of them are expected to be more conservative than Anthony Kennedy. This is obviously a rough moment for Democrats in the Senate because they have to choose, especially the ones in conservative red states that President Trump won, whether to stand with the national progressive base or whether to cast a vote that may be seen as a bridge to bipartisanship in the eyes of their voters. I'm talking, of course, about Joe Manchin in West Virginia, Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota, Joe Donnelly in Indiana. These were the three Democrats who voted for Neil Gorsuch, President Trump's first pick. They will be closely watched, but on the Republican side, the crucial thing here is that Democrats cannot win this fight on their own, even if they unite. They don't have the votes. Republicans can only lose this fight if they pick somebody who peels off votes from within their own ranks. And the two that are most closely watched there are Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska.
And we've already heard from Susan Collins that it comes down to Roe versus Wade in an important fashion. Is that really the issue for the Republicans, holding on to the Republicans who might otherwise go the other way?
That is a key issue here for pro-choice Republicans, most notably like Susan Collins, because, David, this is the first time since the Roe versus Wade ruling was handed down in 1973 that there could potentially be a fifth vote to overturn it. Now, one of the things that Kennedy sided with the liberal wing of the Supreme Court on was the issue of abortion. As recently as the early 1990s, he wrote a controlling opinion that upheld the core of Roe versus Wade that essentially states cannot outlaw abortion wholesale, and this could be the fifth vote to overturn that landmark ruling. So there's going to be a spotlight like never before on Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, who say they are pro-choice in some form or fashion. And the key thing, again, about Susan Collins's rhetoric there, she's used the words she's not going to support a candidate who has demonstrated hostility to Roe. The key word there is demonstrated. It could be someone who's widely known to be pro-life, who's widely known, to be antithetical to abortion rights. But if there's no paper trail, I suspect she's going to find her way to yes.
Yeah, there's a big loophole there. Let's go over to the Democrat side. And you mentioned, for example, Joe Manchin and Heidi Heitkamp. What Republicans are saying is they're up for tough election come November, and they can't afford to really break with the Republicans, ironically, because Donald Trump really won those states by a good margin.
It all depends on how this issue is seen in their states. If it's just another matter where, the president gets to pick his Supreme Court nominee, and if the Senate stands in its way, it's going to be seen as just another partisan food fight, then yes, it hurts. These senators have to make a compelling case. Now, there is a potential roadmap for red state Democrats to oppose Trump's pick, and it was written by John Tester, the Democratic senator from Montana last year. He voted against Neil Gorsuch, Trump's nominee. He's facing re-election in a red state that Trump won pretty handily. And he faulted Gorsuch for refusing to say where he stands on key precedents, including, in his words, dark money, which is code for the Citizens United ruling of 2010, on the issue of a woman's right to make her health care decisions, which, of course, is code for Roe versus Wade. Democrats are going to demand that this nominee say where they stand on the issue of Roe. And if the nominee doesn't say, if the nominee dodges, as most of them typically do on these big precedents, that could be a basis for red state Democrats to vote no.
And finally, Sahil, I understand that Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, is giving some advice to the president about who he thinks would be easier to get through. What is he saying?
There was a report in the New York Times that McConnell has conveyed to the president that two of the reported frontrunners, Kavanaugh and Barrett, would be problematic for confirmation, at least more so than someone like Kethledge and Hardiman, who he believes, according to this report, would be safer. I reached out to his office on this, and McConnell's office would not comment on that report. So the majority leader holding his cards close to the vest here.